You know, this latest release from Project Veritas, I just can't get myself to get emotional about. I see the story and I feel nothing. It's an incredibly impressive and amazing piece of journalism. But what I mean is, we now have a Facebook whistleblower coming out showing one straight up, no questions asked. They are literally manipulating the election, period. These people on video are saying outright, we will ban conservatives for things as simple as wearing a MAGA hat to favor the left. It's straight up election interference on a massive scale. And the reason why I can't get, I see the story and I'm like, well, good work, James. Good work, Project Veritas. I'm impressed. But we know. We've known. What is anyone going to do about it? I don't know. Will Ted Cruz hold another hearing? Perhaps. Will that do anything? No, of course not. Will Josh Hawley propose a bill? Perhaps. Will that do anything? Probably not. Nothing will happen. I don't know what to tell you guys. We know that these social media platforms are outright biased. Right now, Carpe Donktum, the meme smith, is being sued over fair use. Parents to sue Trump and meme creator Carpe Donktum over manipulated video of toddlers. It was seriously a fair use satirical piece. That's how broken the system is. You make a video, it's called an edit. It's a normal thing. They'll ban you for it. Facebook, you can't say certain names. You are already living under the boot, and Trump can do nothing to stop it. I'm sorry. Trump, in my opinion, is a symbolic victory at this point. Now, the economy did really, really well, but that's not changing the culture revolution. That's not stopping statues from coming down. It's not stopping what's happening in Seattle or these other places or Minneapolis, or it's not stopping anything. So this is what I said over the past several days. I mean, come November, you can go into the voting booth and you can pull the lever for Trump, pull the lever for Republicans, but I don't think anything's going to change. I really, really don't. Here's what I think, to be completely honest. I think Trump can win. I think he's down. I really do. The people who are, for a long time, I thought it was going to be a landslide, but there's a lot of reasons to suggest that bias will hurt you if you're a Trump voter. I think what needs to happen right now has nothing to do with Trump. Trump is a symbolic victory, okay? There's a lot of important things I think Trump has done. Some things I'd be critical of, particularly foreign policy, though he's been a lot better than Obama in many ways. I think the Republicans need the House and they need the Senate. That's the important factor here. Of course, with that, you'll probably win the presidency too. And I find myself, surprised to see that I'm saying that because I was 6 months ago, I was supporting Democrats. I actually recently donated to Michelle Crusoe Cabrera, but that was kind of the last straw for me. And I recently donated to another Republican. The first time ever I've donated to a Republican. I consider myself fairly moderate, but I do think that I often favor the left. And in the past few months, I've sort of drifted away because it seems like there will be no moderate Democrat who will actually stand up against the culture mob, the outrage mob on the left that is destroying our civil liberties and our culture. They're tearing down statues of abolitionists. They're censoring people on Facebook for having the wrong opinions. And this is the antithesis of what it means to be free and what it means to be an American. Right. Let me show you the story because I don't want to bury the lead on this Project Veritas story. This is huge. Another Facebook whistleblower, interference on a global level in elections. They say another report demonstrating rampant censorship of conservative content by Facebook content moderators, and an interview with the latest insider who experienced it firsthand was released today by the nonprofit media company Project Veritas. Simultaneously, a story has been released by activists showing that Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire are one of the biggest publishers on Facebook. And that's true, but it's just Ben Shapiro. It's important to point that while Ben Shapiro does a really, really good job, there are a lot of people who have been purged from the platform for their opinions. So here's what you have to avoid. You don't want to pretend that conservatives are just outright gone because the left easily rebuts this with, but Ben Shapiro. The point I'm making is that conservatives are doing very, very well on the platform, better than the left in some respects, but it's the individuals who are being purged. And this is clever. Whether it's intentional or not. What I think it is, the moderators are biased, as we've discovered now because of this Project Veritas release. And this is huge. I mean, I don't want to downplay this from Veritas. You have a guy on the record showing his face with his name showing video. He recorded video in the company, Probably one of the biggest stories Veritas has ever done, showing outright election manipulation and interference by people who are saying insane things. So check this out over at their website. But when Ben Shapiro does well, it's because he's smart about how he publishes stories. He avoids breaking the rules, but he still gets to express his opinion in certain ways. I would argue that it's similar to how I function on YouTube. I've been doing very, very well on YouTube. However, there are certain constraints, which means smaller individuals are purged. Smaller news outlets are purged. The people who are smart enough to navigate this properly will succeed, but it's in spite of the algorithm. It's in spite of what's happening. The only way I see this ending, in my opinion, is if the Republicans take the House and the Senate, and they will need the presidency unless they have a supermajority. They need everything, because then they can pass 230 reform, Section 230 reform, which would basically make it so that, as according to the DOJ, it would help a little bit, not perfectly, but it would help in the sense that these companies wouldn't be able to ban someone unless their post was unlawful. Now, there's a bunch of solutions proposed by people. There's an effort to get people on Parlay, which I use now somewhat. We'll see how it plays out. It's spelled Parler, Parler. And a lot of conservatives and Trump supporters have moved there because of the censorship. I'm not sure that's going to do anything other than cede ground to the left on Twitter. But also, it's silly. Why embolden and empower Twitter? Trump needs to get off Twitter and use Parlay because it would force the media to promote Parlay. But if the Republicans can take all three branches, meaning you need literally everyone you know to vote, literally every single person, there's no sitting down, this will be the fight of your lives, then they can pass 230 reform and restore a balanced political discourse on social media. Right now, the people who run it are progressive, so they love that they're being pressured by companies to force these rules, and they can shrug and say, oh, well, we have to do it. This is where it gets bad. You are the Republicans, conservatives, and moderates who are leaning to the right. You are facing such an extreme uphill battle right now. I'm not entirely convinced Trump is going to win or the Republicans are going to win. And I'm hearing from a lot of people, they think they absolutely will. But I'll tell you this right now, man. When you can't even express your opinion in public, on a public platform, seriously, like even an opinion about immigration, how do you expect to win? If you can't share your ideas with your friends and your family, how do you expect to win? Now, I can understand the desire to ban fake news, and there's a lot of really bunk, garbage fake news websites. Many of them are on the left. But what happens right now is that you have very few conservative outlets that are prominent, and the left has taken over the left-wing culture. They've taken over the mainstream media. So the cultural left now owns the New York Times, and they're even gaining ground on the Wall Street Journal. It's a fact. They own the Washington Post. They own these platforms, and they're outing anyone who dares oppose them. Think about it. With Veritas' release right now, let me read this for you. Quote, I was seeing them interfering on a global level in elections. I saw a blatant exception that just targeted conservatives or favored liberals. And we're deleting on average 300 posts or actioning 300 posts a day, said Arizona-based Facebook content moderator Ryan Hartwig. If you magnify that by however many content moderators there are on a global scale, that's a lot of stuff that's getting taken down. Hartwig is the second Facebook whistleblower Project Veritas debuted this week to report on the behavior. Earlier this week, recordings captured Facebook content moderators bragging about deleting posts and comments supporting Donald Trump and conservative causes. Look at this. If someone is wearing a MAGA hat, I am going to delete them for terrorism. It's happening. You have bias in social media manipulation, and we've known this. You have bias in our journalistic institutions, and we've known this. And what has anyone done about it? Nothing. You know what the problem is, in my opinion? The left these are diehards, man. These progressives are willing to put everything on the line, get fired from their jobs, and do whatever it takes to win. And because of it, they do. That's it. They're going to win. The way I've explained it in the past several videos is that when these politicians look out the window and they see a bunch of people marching through the street with signs, they go, okay. Do they see anybody else? No. So they go, well, there you go. There's our active base. That's who we pander to. Perhaps conservatives need to actually engage in peaceful protest. Moderates as well. Maybe protect statues peacefully. And I mean this, peaceful protest works. They will tell you it doesn't because they're lying and they don't want you to use it. The example I gave the other night was Andy Ngo. He's a journalist. Many of you know him. He's a gay son of Vietnamese immigrants, and Antifa beat the crap out of him. And he didn't fight back. He just got beaten. And the media had no choice. They were struggling to how do you show the American people a gay child of immigrants being beaten and make him the bad guy? They tried. They really did. But it didn't work. This created a backlash and they were panicking. The far left was frantic. This is what I tell people right now. There are no conservatives standing up for free speech, defending statues. Very, very few. And when they do, they show up with weapons or shields like the guy in New Mexico. And then right away, that dude in New Mexico wanted to defend that statue. He could have done what any leftist does, tied himself to it. I was thinking about this. The left is clever. They're organized. They're better. And too often conservatives and the right just sit back and think that we can, that we can just let the government handle things. I never considered myself to be, for the most part, moderate. I've always considered myself to be actually liberal. Policy-wise, my views align with early Barack Obama and Democrats 10 or so years ago. Now, I don't even know what matters anymore because no one's talking political policy. It's the culture war. That's it. The left is talking about universal health care. Moderates are talking about public options. Conservatives are talking about private. None of that matters to me because it's nebulous. What does it really accomplish? I know that there are some problems with Obamacare. We could use some reform in that regard. I think police reform makes a lot of sense. I'm pro-choice. But is anyone really arguing these positions? No. The left is gone full culture war and silencing and shutting down any argument. So there's no argument anymore. How are we supposed to know what the accurate solution is if these social media companies are banning people for their opinions? And what have conservatives done to actually stop it? To be honest, I'd say the answer is nothing. I mean it. How many conservative news outlets are there that actually do journalism? 5 prominent ones? I mean, a small handful. Almost every single mainstream media outlet is left biased. They're based in big cities and they're left biased. How many conservatives have gone out, linked arms and defended property and statues? I don't think very much, a small handful, just almost none. Now, there have been conservatives who have gone out to rally and they've been beaten by Antifa. But guess what? Eventually, the narrative shell started cracking. In San Francisco, when there was a Trump-supporting rally and Antifa came and beat people who didn't have weapons and didn't fight back, just got beaten, the media actually came out against Antifa. This is what the left understands better than the right. The left has been organizing for a long time with impunity. And so they've learned how to, manipulate people and gain this ground, and it works. And then so many conservatives just sit back and think, well, I'll vote and that'll take care of it. And it doesn't. Because Donald Trump can't do anything about it. He can issue an executive order in a desperate attempt to try and do something and nothing happens. The DOJ can issue guidelines and nothing happens. So I'll tell you this, man, I think it's hilarious. Conservatives, in my opinion, who argue that this is a private company who can do what they want, they deserve to become extinct. Their ideas deserve to go extinct. They deserve. You know why? If you will not stand up for what you believe in, then it will go away. Period. So I look at a story like this, right? Look, there's too much here for me to actually go through, but I want to highlight this because it is hardcore evidence. They straight up say in this screenshot from their policy that hate speech is allowed if it's targeting white men. There you go. They are straight up telling their Facebook staff, this is 2019, that if you target white men, you're good. This is 2019. This is over 1 year ago, according to the timestamp. That's how long this has been going on. You think you're going to win? You think Trump's going to win? I'm sorry, man. Listen, I think Trump can win. I think the Republicans in the House and the Senate can take it. But it will be the fight of your lives. How long has this been going on? And what conservative politician did anything about it? Man, I will laugh as hard as I can laugh when Ted Cruz loses re-election to some Democrat. I mean, Texas is getting close. When these conservative senators, when these Republican senators start losing their re-election to Democrats and the Senate flips, I'm going to laugh about it. I am. Because they should have known better. They should have known this was going on. And what have they done? I don't know. Talked about it, I guess. Maybe they can't do anything. Then I don't know what to tell you. I'll put it this way. If you're of the opinion that Republicans really do want to fight for your free speech but are being held back, then you need to make sure you and every single person you know goes and pulls the lever for that Republican. So the House and the Senate are controlled by them and they actually vote to put in place reforms to stop these companies from censoring people and from taking over public discourse. I am of the opinion that they don't actually care because we've gotten lip service from many of them and then that's it. Nothing else. So why should I be convinced that any one of these people actually cares about what's happening or is smart enough to do anything about it? It was 2018 when I said Republicans, and I mean the politicians, are too stupid to actually address this, to save their own careers, to save their own party, to save their own ideas. They don't care. How many Republican politicians came out and were licking the boots of the looters and rioters and protesters? A decent amount, actually. How many people came out and championed Bubba Smollett when he was engaging in this noose hoax or whatever? To be fair to Bubba Wallace, to use his real name, to be a bit more respectful, he never actually saw the news. Someone told him and he freaked out. And I can respect why he was freaking out. But how many people jumped on that? Same as Covington, and I'll take full responsibility for jumping on the NYPD Shake Shack story and getting that wrong. But my question, the point I'm trying to bring up is, every day when the left does something, the right is oh so eager to jump on board and side with their cultural outrage. Not every single moment, but a lot of these hoaxes. You will see conservatives being like, oh my, how could this have happened? When are we going to see more than just Tom Cotton and Trump come out and say tearing down the statues is horrifying? Where are any of the Republicans to say anything? So no, the Republicans, in my opinion, do nothing. I have no idea what they're doing. Keys to the castle politicians, man. Now, there's a small handful that I do respect. There are people like Matt Gaetz, in my opinion, Josh Hawley, to a bit Ted Cruz. I call them out specifically because they're the ones who've actually spoken up. But where are they to lead this fight and never stop speaking about it? I don't know, man. The Democrats just bend the knee. They're on bent knee to the outrage mob who's destroying our history and our culture. And these big tech companies have been lying over and over again. Nothing happens. Just nothing happens. The government has become toothless and the cultural institutions have become overrun. So I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know in my view what any of these people could really do, but it's laid out right here in front of your faces. Project Veritas probably dropped the biggest story they have ever dropped, in my opinion. You've got video footage going back a year proving they have a double standard in their rules, that it's politically biased. They're all saying this stuff. It is. Look, when I saw the first story from Veritas, I was like, you know what, man? Excellent work to James and the Project Veritas team. Really, really excellent undercover journalism. And we all know this. How many of you are going to be surprised? I'm willing to bet that the interest in this video is actually relatively low because we know this. We don't need to see another video, another insider coming out and proving it to us. We have seen it. My videos have been taken down, and I'm the milquetoast fence sitter guy. All I do is talk about the article. YouTube took down some of my videos, and guess what? I made a big stink about it, and then nothing changes. Rand Paul gave a speech on the Senate floor about a CIA employee having nothing to do with Ukraine. It was posted by C-SPAN, and YouTube deleted the video. That's where we're at. Every day, the incremental stripping of our freedoms, our right to knowledge, is being taken away by a massive multinational private corporation. And where are the Democrats? But a private company, they say. And where are the Republicans? Well, there are many Republican voters who are screaming at the top of their lungs. There are many Republican politicians who will passively put out a statement, ask a question to Mark Zuckerberg, and then that's it. I'll tell you what, Mark Zuckerberg said it doesn't happen. Perjury charge. Come on, do it. Do something. You know that meme of the guy poking the stick saying, come on, do something. Yeah, do something. I think it's hilarious when people post on Republican forums or whatever, conservative or Trump forums, where's the charges, arrest some people already. And it's like, yeah, I feel you, bro. I feel you. You'd think Mark Zuckerberg saying we don't do this, Jack Dorsey saying we don't do this, and they literally do it. There's no argument they do it. Now, the left will lie, but there's no argument. It's there. It's how many times does James O'Keefe need to open a silver platter, wearing nice fancy white gloves, showing it and shoving it in the faces of the Republicans to be like, there it is. They're lying to you, for them to finally be like, maybe we should actually do something. Where's the DOJ? Can Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, Vijaya Gotti, and these people lie under oath? Well, I shouldn't. I won't name them specifically. I'll walk that back because I don't know who actually testified under oath. But if Zuckerberg, Dorsey, Sundar Pichai, and these other people are going to testify in front of Congress and say it's not happening, when are you going to do something? These massive multinational private corporations are stripping away our ability to speak in public. They are steering our elections and they are lying to our politicians, and no one does a thing. You know, I've been watching reruns of the Outer Limits from the 90s. I love that show. And I'm in the middle of one right now where it's like the year is, I don't know, 22 something. And the North American states have merged into what they call the corporation. And I find it hilariously cliche, the sci-fi dystopian novel of the corporation controlling everything, the government being gone, rights being stripped. And it's funny because we have a constitution and all that stuff. Nah, I'm sorry, man. Listen, not only have they been lying to our politicians who seem to be toothless and ineffective and can't get anything done, we've got the governors of certain blue states and some red states enacting unconstitutional edict, and the police, with a smile on their face, just walk all over the Constitution, take a dump on it, and laugh the whole time. You want to talk about police reform? There's a police reform in Colorado that says that if a police officer violates your civil rights, they're liable for up to $25,000, and I'm clapping. You know why? Because when these police officers went to the gym near my home and arrested a guy for refusing to identify himself because he went to the gym, I'm like, pay up, boys. You're both responsible for that violation of civil rights. If you violate the Constitution, you will be responsible. How many cops with a smile on their face took a dump right on the Constitution when these governors said, do it? And they did. So look, man, we're watching all of this happen. And this is why I'm not confident. And this is why I've made the jokes about the van down by the river. I think it's fair to criticize me when people say all you do is talk and complain. For sure, 100%. I'm not going to go out and protest. But to be honest, for the most part, there's no excuse. Just straight up, no excuse. You know what? Let's all sit back and complain about it until nothing gets done. The politicians aren't doing anything, so why should I bother voting? Maybe this is the one shot this November to actually get out and vote and try and see if these people will actually pass reforms to protect democratic institutions and our right to speech, our right to assembly and all these things. Maybe that's our one opportunity, because you can talk about defending the police and needing the police department. I agree, that's true. But I have no respect for these cops who enforced unconstitutional edicts from governors. What is there any punishment for this? No. They stepped all over the Constitution. They took a dump on it and nothing happened to them. They tear down statues. Nobody arrested. They break into a private condominium in Wisconsin. Nothing happened. Nothing. They are still rioting to this day across the country. Media is just not really focused on it all that much because people are kind of over it. Yeah, we get it. It's still happening. Portland, day 27. What else is new? Chaz may be falling apart. But what am I supposed to expect? You tell me, over and over again that I should vote for Trump. People tell me not to vote for Trump, but that's obvious. They hate him. I'm asking, why should I bother voting for the man? So we had a great economy. I can respect that. That's a good reason. No new wars. It's also a really, really good reason for me. But when we're talking about the collapse of our rights in these issues, what can I expect to get from voting for Donald Trump? He'll make jokes. He'll go to rallies and say off-color things. I don't care about that. In fact, I don't like it. I want someone to stand up the moment they tore down Thomas Jefferson, and I want him to pound his fist on the table and say, you will not destroy our statues. Guess what? Emmanuel Macron did it. France, of all countries, he said, you will not tear down our statues. And that's what we get. Where are our leaders, man? I guess we don't have any. We have bickering nonsense. You know who our leaders are right now? It's Black Lives Matter and Antifa. And you might not want to hear it, but it's true. The only people willing to stand up and slam their fist on the table and take what they want has been the far left. That's it. Now, I don't like them. I think they're insane, but they're the only ones who have actually went out and made demands and took. The Democratic politicians got on their knees for them. The Republicans said nothing. And here we are, man. So Project Veritas, every single day. I just imagine a nice, dapper-looking, well-dressed James O'Keefe, nice little top hat, walking up to you, white gloves and a silver platter, and he opens it up, and there it is, more evidence of censorship and political bias and election meddling. And everyone goes, there it is. Thank you for showing us that. You can take it away now, and we're going to go back to our conversation about nonsense. The people understand this, but the politicians don't. And so they deserve to lose. But then what happens is the acceleration. When the Democrats take over, these people are on their knees for the woke mob. The least I can say about the Republicans is that at least they're not bending their knees. And there are a few that are standing up. One or two Democrats, I believe, stood up. But for the most part, the Democratic establishment has just got on their knees. So, look, man, I'm sorry. I'm pessimistic. It's not been a fun past couple of months for anybody. The next video is coming up at 4 p.m. The National Guard has been called in. The riots haven't ceased. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what's really going on. I'll see you all at 4 over at timcast.net. Thanks for hanging out.